The alarm started ringing at 3 in the morning. Commander Taeyang Kim woke up quickly and reached for his phone. The message on the screen made his heart beat faster. Unknown objects had entered the solar system near Jupiter. They were big, very big, and moving toward Earth. Taeyang was 53 years old. He had been a soldier for more than 30 years. He had fought in many battles and won many wars, but he had never seen anything like this. The objects on his screen were not human ships. They were alien vessels, and there were hundreds of them. He got dressed quickly and rushed to the command center. When he arrived, everyone was already working hard. Screens showed images of the alien fleet. The ships were dark and strange. They looked like giant insects made of metal. Some were as big as cities. Dr. Bo-Rahan was already there. She was the best scientist on Earth when it came to alien life. She had waited her whole life for this moment. But now that it was here, she felt scared. The aliens had not sent any friendly messages. They had not tried to talk. They just kept moving closer. Taeyang looked at Bo-Ra and asked what she thought. Bo-Ra shook her head slowly. She said the aliens were not exploring or visiting. They were coming to take over. Their ships were built for war, not for peace. Lieutenant Woo Jin Park walked into the room. He was young, only 28 years old. He was the best pilot in the Earth Defense Fleet. He flew faster and better than anyone else, but he was also known for taking too many risks. His commander often told him to be more careful. Woo Jin asked if he could take his squadron out to see the aliens up close. Taeyang said no. It was too dangerous. They needed to wait and learn more first. Woo Jin did not like waiting, but he followed orders. Hours passed. The world leaders held emergency meetings. Everyone was asking the same questions. Who were these aliens? What did they want? Could humans fight them if needed? Bora tried to send messages to the alien fleet. She used every language and every signal humans knew. She even tried using math and music. Nothing worked. The aliens stayed silent. They just kept coming. Then suddenly the aliens sent a message. It appeared on every screen on Earth. It appeared on phones, computers, and televisions. Everyone saw it at the same time. The message showed a creature that looked like a giant lizard standing on 2 legs. It was 8 feet tall. Parts of its body were covered in metal and machines. Its eyes were cold and yellow. When it spoke, its voice was deep and harsh. The creature said its name was Veltar. It said it was the supreme commander of the Krell Armada. The Krell had conquered many worlds across the galaxy. Now they wanted Earth. They wanted its water, its metals, and its people. Veltar gave humanity a choice. They could surrender now and become slaves, or they could fight and die. He said the Krell had never lost a war. He said humans were weak and small. He gave Earth 72 hours to decide. The message ended. People all over Earth started to panic. Some wanted to surrender. They said fighting was useless. The alien ships were too powerful. Better to live as slaves than die as fighters. But others refused to give up. They said humans had fought for freedom before. They could do it again. The argument spread across the whole world. Families fought with each other. Friends stopped talking. Everyone was afraid. Taeyang called a meeting with all the military leaders. He said they needed to know what they were facing. He ordered Woo Jin to take his squadron and go see the alien fleet. They would not attack. They would just look and come back. Woo Jin was excited. Finally, he could do something. He gathered his squadron of 12 pilots. They were the best fighters Earth had. They got into their ships and flew toward the alien fleet. As they got closer, Woo Jin could not believe what he saw. The alien ships were everywhere. There were so many of them. His computer tried to count them but gave up. There were thousands, maybe tens of thousands. The smallest alien ship was bigger than Earth's largest battleship. The biggest ones were like floating mountains. They had weapons all over their hulls. Woo Jin felt very small and scared. Suddenly, the aliens noticed them. 3 alien fighters came flying out. They were fast, very fast. They started chasing Woo Jin's squadron. Woo Jin shouted for everyone to run. They turned around and flew as fast as they could. The alien fighters fired their weapons. Red beams of light shot past the human ships. One beam hit the wing of a fighter behind Woo Jin. The ship exploded. Woo Jin felt sick. His friend was dead. They kept running. The alien fighters kept chasing. Then just as suddenly as they started, the aliens turned back. They had made their point. Humans were not welcome near the fleet. Woo Jin and his remaining pilots returned to base. He went straight to Taeyang and told him everything. The aliens were too strong. Their ships were too many. Fighting them seemed impossible. Meanwhile, on Mars, Captain Hyejin Lee was preparing her defenses. She was in charge of the Mars defense installation. She had 3,000 soldiers and 100 ships. She knew Mars would be attacked first. It was closer to the alien fleet. Hyejin was 35 years old. She was calm and smart. She never panicked, even when things were bad. She ordered her soldiers to get ready. They built bunkers underground. They hid weapons and supplies. If the aliens came, they would be ready to fight. Back on Earth, the 72 hours were almost over. The world leaders had made their decision. They would not surrender. They would fight. Taeyang stood in front of cameras and spoke to the whole world. He said humans had always fought for their freedom. They had always stood up to bullies and tyrants. This time would be no different. Even if they could not win, they would fight. They would show the galaxy that humans would never bow down. People all over Earth heard his words. Some cried. Some cheered. Everyone knew what was coming. War was here. When the 72 hours ended, Earth sent its answer to Veltar. The message was simple. It was just one word. No, Veltar received the message. He laughed. Humans were even more foolish than he thought. He gave the order to his fleet, attack. The alien ships started moving faster. They were heading for Mars first. Then they would come for Earth. The war had begun. The Krell fleet reached Mars 3 days after the war started. Captain Hyejin Lee watched them come. She stood in the command center deep underground. Above her on the surface, the red sky was turning black with alien ships. Hyejin had sent all the civilians away. Only soldiers remained on Mars now. 3,000 brave men and women who knew they might not survive, but they were ready to fight anyway. The first alien ships landed on the surface. They did not know about the underground bunkers. They thought Mars was empty. That was their first mistake. When the aliens sent their soldiers out, Hyejin gave the order to attack. Hidden guns popped up from the sand. Missiles flew out from underground tunnels. The aliens were caught by surprise. Many of them died in the first few minutes, but the Krell had thousands of soldiers. More ships kept landing. They started firing back. Giant laser beams hit the ground. Explosions were everywhere. The battle for Mars had begun. Hyejin moved her soldiers through the underground tunnels. They would attack from one place, then disappear and attack from another place. The aliens could not figure out where the humans were hiding. This made them angry and confused. Back near Earth, Lieutenant Woojin Park was leading his squadron into battle. The Krell had sent ships toward the asteroid belt. Woojin and 50 other pilots went to stop them. The human fighters were small and fast. The alien ships were big and slow, but the aliens had better weapons and stronger shields. When the fighting started, it was chaos. Woojin flew between the asteroids. He used the big rocks as cover. An alien ship chased him. He flew straight at an asteroid, then turned at the last second. The alien ship could not turn fast enough. It crashed into the rock and exploded. Woojin shouted with joy, but his happiness did not last long. His best friend, flying right behind him, was hit by an alien laser. The ship exploded in a ball of fire. Woojin screamed his friend's name, but it was too late. The battle lasted for 2 hours. When it was over, 20 human fighters were destroyed, but they had also destroyed 30 alien ships. It was a small victory, but it was something. Woojin flew back to base. He was quiet. He felt angry and sad. His friend had been like a brother to him. Now he was gone. War was not exciting anymore. It was just pain and death. On Earth, Dr. Bo Rahan was studying the wreckage of destroyed alien ships. Human soldiers had collected pieces from the battles. Bora wanted to understand how the alien technology worked. What she found was interesting. The alien weapons were very powerful. Their shields were very strong, but their technology was old. It had not changed in a long time. The Krell had been winning wars for so long that they had stopped improving. Bora brought this information to Commander Taeyang. She told him that the Krell were strong but predictable. They always attacked the same way. They never changed their tactics. This was their weakness. Taeyang listened carefully. His eyes lit up. He had an idea. If the Krell never changed their tactics, then humans could set traps for them. They could trick the aliens into making mistakes. He created a plan called Operation Hornet's Nest. Human ships would pretend to be damaged. They would send distress signals. When the Krell came to finish them off, they would fly into hidden minefields. The aliens would be destroyed by their own greed. The plan was put into action near the moon. 3 human ships pretended to be hurt. They floated in space, sending out emergency calls. Sure enough, 10 Krell ships came to destroy them. The human ships waited until the aliens were close. Then they turned on their engines and flew away fast. The Krell chased them right into the minefield. Hundreds of mines exploded all at once. 5 alien ships were destroyed. The others turned and ran away. The humans cheered. But the celebration did not last long. The Krell learned from their mistake. They stopped chasing damaged ships. They became more careful. On Mars, things were getting worse. Heejin soldiers had fought bravely for 5 days. But the Krell kept sending more troops. The humans were running out of ammunition and food. The aliens finally found the main underground base. They sent hundreds of soldiers into the tunnels. Heejin knew they could not hold out much longer. She ordered her soldiers to prepare for the final battle. The fighting in the tunnels was brutal. Humans and aliens fought hand-to-hand in the dark. The tunnels were too narrow for big weapons. Soldiers used knives and small guns. The aliens were bigger and stronger, but the humans fought with desperation. Heejin herself fought with her soldiers. She shot 3 aliens who tried to break through the command center doors. She threw grenades into groups of enemy soldiers. She would not let Mars fall easily, but there were too many aliens. Slowly, the humans were pushed back. Heejin made the hardest decision of her life. She ordered her remaining soldiers to evacuate. They would escape through hidden tunnels and get to the ships. Before they left, Heejin set charges all over the base. When the aliens took control, she pushed a button. The entire base exploded. Hundreds of Krell soldiers died in the blast. Heejin and 800 survivors escaped to their ships. They flew away from Mars toward Earth. Behind them, Mars was now in alien hands. It was a defeat, but not a total loss. They had killed thousands of Krell soldiers, and they had survived to fight another day. The Krell commander Veltar watched the humans escape. He was surprised. These humans fought harder than any species he had ever faced. They did not give up even when they had no chance to win. He felt something he had not felt in many years. Respect. But respect did not mean mercy. Veltar gave orders to his fleet. They would attack the moon next. Then they would attack Earth itself. The humans had fought well, but they would still lose. The Krell always won. On Earth, people heard about the fall of Mars. Some people felt hopeless. Mars had the best defenses of any human colony. If Mars could fall, then Earth would fall too. But Commander Tae-yang did not give up. He spoke to the people again. He said Mars had not fallen in vain. The soldiers there had killed many aliens. They had shown the Krell that humans would fight to the end. Every alien ship destroyed meant fewer ships attacking Earth. The war was just beginning. The hardest battles were still to come. But humanity would keep fighting. They would never surrender. 2 weeks had passed since Mars fell. The Krell fleet was now surrounding the moon. They had brought even more ships. It looked like a dark cloud covering the sky. Earth was next, and everyone knew it. Commander Tae-yang sat in his office. He had not slept in 3 days. Reports kept coming in. Every report was bad news. The Krell were too strong. Earth's weapons could not break through their shields. If something did not change soon, humanity would be wiped out. Dr. Bora Han walked into his office. She looked tired but excited. She told Tae-yang she had found something important. For the past 2 weeks, she had been studying the alien shields. She finally understood how they worked. The Krell shields used a special energy frequency. This frequency made the shields very strong. But Bora had discovered that if humans could create the exact opposite frequency, they could turn off the shields. It would only work for a few seconds, but that might be enough. Tae-yang listened carefully. He asked if she was sure this would work. Bora shook her head. She was not sure. The technology was new and untested. It might work perfectly, or it might not work at all. But it was their only chance. Tae-yang made his decision. They would build the shield disruptor. They would attach it to a fighter ship. One pilot would fly close to the Krell flagship and use the disruptor. When the shields were down, the pilot would fire a nuclear missile into the flagship's core. The explosion would destroy the flagship and many ships around it. There was only one problem. The pilot flying this mission would probably die. The flagship would explode while the pilot was still too close to escape. It was a suicide mission. Tae-yang called a meeting with all his best pilots. He explained the mission. He said he needed a volunteer. Before he could finish speaking, Lieutenant Woo Jin Park stood up. He said he would do it. Taeyang looked at the young pilot. Wu Jin had changed in the past few weeks. He was not the reckless boy anymore. His best friend had died in battle. He had seen too much death and suffering. Now he wanted to do something that mattered. If he had to die, he wanted his death to save others. Taeyang wanted to say no. Wu Jin was too valuable to lose. But he also knew that Wu Jin was the best pilot they had. If anyone could complete this mission, it was him. Taeyang nodded slowly. The mission was approved. For 3 days, engineers worked non-stop to build the shield disruptor. They attached it to the fastest fighter ship in the fleet. They loaded the ship with the most powerful nuclear missile humans had ever made. Everything had to be perfect. Captain Haijin Lee was preparing for another battle. She had been given command of the moon's remaining defense forces. Her job was to create a distraction. While Wu Jin attacked the flagship, she would attack the Krell ground forces on the moon. He-Jin gathered 2,000 soldiers. They were all volunteers. They knew this battle would be hard. Many of them would die, but they were ready to fight anyway. They wanted revenge for Mars. They wanted to hurt the aliens as much as possible. The day of the mission arrived. Wu Jin climbed into his fighter. His hands were shaking a little. He was scared, but he did not show it. He thought about his dead friend. He thought about all the people who had died fighting the Krell. He would not let their deaths be for nothing. Dr. Bora came to see him before he left. She told him to be careful. She said the disruptor should work, but she could not be completely sure. Wu Jin smiled at her. He said it did not matter. He would make it work no matter what. Commander Taeyang gave the order. The mission started. On the moon, Haijin's soldiers charged at the Krell positions. The aliens were surprised by the sudden attack. Fighting broke out all across the moon's surface. At the same time, Wu Jin launched his fighter. 20 other pilots flew with him to protect him. They had to get Wu Jin close to the flagship. That was all that mattered. The Krell noticed them immediately. Hundreds of alien fighters came to stop them. The sky filled with laser beams and explosions. One by one, the human pilots died protecting Wu Jin. They crashed into alien ships. They drew enemy fire away from him. They gave their lives so he could continue. Wu Jin kept flying forward. Tears ran down his face. His friends were dying all around him. But he could not stop. He had to reach the flagship. Finally, he was close enough. Only 3 other pilots were still alive. The Krell flagship was right in front of him. It was enormous, bigger than a city. Its weapons were firing at him from every direction. Wu Jin activated the shield disruptor. For a moment, nothing happened. His heart sank. Had it failed? Then suddenly, the flagship's shields flickered and disappeared. The disruptor was working. Wu Jin fired the nuclear missile. It shot toward the flagship like a spear of light. It hit the flagship's reactor core perfectly. Wu Jin turned his ship around and flew away as fast as he could. Behind him, the flagship began to explode. First, there was a small flash. Then a bigger explosion. Then the entire ship exploded in a giant ball of fire that could be seen from Earth. The explosion was so big that it destroyed 20 other Krell ships nearby. The shockwave hit Wu Jin's fighter. His ship spun out of control. All his systems failed. He was floating in space with no power. But he was alive. He had survived. The Krell fleet was in chaos. Their flagship was gone. Their supreme commander Veltar had barely escaped to another ship. Many of their best soldiers had died. For the first time, the Krell were afraid. Veltar ordered his fleet to retreat. They would regroup and come back stronger. But for now, they needed to get away from these crazy humans. On the moon, He-Jin's soldiers saw the Krell retreating. They cheered and cried with joy. They had won. It seemed impossible, but they had won. A rescue ship found Wu Jin floating in space. They brought him back to Earth. When he arrived, people were calling him a hero. But Wu Jin did not feel like a hero. He just felt tired and sad for all the friends he had lost. Commander Taeyang knew this victory was only temporary. The Krell would come back. They still had thousands of ships. But Earth had bought some time. And time was what they needed most. 3 weeks passed after the flagship was destroyed. Earth was celebrating, but Commander Taeyang was worried. He knew the Krell would return. And when they did, they would be even more dangerous. He was right. The Krell came back with twice as many ships. But this time, they fought differently. Veltar had learned from his mistakes. He no longer sent his ships in predictable patterns. He changed his tactics constantly. He was fighting like a human now. The Krell attacked from multiple directions at once. They built huge platforms in space around Earth. These platforms had giant guns that could shoot at the planet. Slowly, they were destroying Earth's cities. Millions of people died every day. Buildings fell. Entire cities burned. People hid underground, but even there they were not safe. The Krell were digging them out. This was the darkest time humanity had ever faced. Dr. Borahan worked day and night. She was studying all the information they had collected about the Krell. She looked at their navigation data. She analyzed their supply routes. She was looking for any weakness she could find. Then she found something interesting. All the Krell ships got their fuel and supplies from one place. It was a giant depot 3 light years away. The depot was hidden in an asteroid field. It supported the entire invasion fleet. Bora brought this information to Commander Tae-yang. She told him that if they could destroy the depot, the Krell fleet would run out of supplies. They would have to retreat or starve. Without fuel, their ships could not keep fighting. Tae-yang stared at the map. The depot was so far away, it would take days to get there, even with Earth's fastest ship, and the depot would be heavily defended. It seemed impossible. But Tae-yang had learned something during this war. Nothing was impossible if you were brave enough to try. He called a meeting with his best officers. He explained his plan. They would send a strike team to destroy the depot. The team would use humanity's newest experimental ship. It could travel faster than any other ship humans had. It could reach the depot in 3 days. The mission would be dangerous. The team would be 3 light years from home. If something went wrong, no one could help them. They would be alone in enemy territory, but if they succeeded, they could end the war. Captain Haijin Lee volunteered to lead the mission. She was the best combat commander Earth had. After her success on Mars and the Moon, everyone trusted her. Tae-yang agreed. Hyojin would lead the strike team. Lieutenant Woojin Park also volunteered. He was still recovering from his injuries, but he insisted on going. Doctors said he was not ready. Woojin did not care. He wanted to finish what he had started. 50 Special Forces soldiers joined the mission. They were the best fighters humanity had. They knew they might not come back, but they were willing to take that risk for their planet. The team boarded the experimental ship. It was called the Phoenix. They said goodbye to their families. Many people cried. Then the Phoenix activated its engines and jumped into faster-than-light travel. In seconds, they were gone. The journey took 3 days. During that time, Hyejin studied the depot's layout. They had gotten the information from captured Krell computers. The depot was huge. It had thousands of fuel tanks and supply warehouses, and it had 5,000 Krell soldiers guarding it. Hyejin divided her team into 3 groups. Each group would attack a different part of the depot. The first group would attack the main fuel reserves. The second group would attack the command center. The third group would plant explosives throughout the depot. When they arrived at the depot, they were surprised. There were even more guards than they expected. Veltar had learned from his mistakes. He had strengthened the depot's defenses, but it was too late to turn back. The Phoenix dropped the 3 teams at different locations. Then it flew away to hide in the asteroid field. The teams were on their own now. Woojin led the first team toward the fuel reserves. They moved quietly through the corridors. They wore special suits that made them hard to see. They got close to the fuel tanks before the Krell noticed them. When the alarm went off, all 3 teams started fighting at once. The Krell were everywhere. Human soldiers fired their weapons as fast as they could. Aliens fell, but more kept coming. Woojin's team fought their way to the main fuel tank. They planted antimatter charges on it. These charges were incredibly powerful. When they exploded, they would destroy everything nearby. Hyejin led the second team to the command center. She kicked down the door and threw in grenades. The explosions killed several Krell officers. Then her team rushed in, shooting everything that moved. Inside the command center, Hyejin found Veltar's second-in-command. The alien was huge, even bigger than Veltar. It roared and charged at her. Hyejin ducked under its claws and stabbed it with her knife. The alien fell to the ground and did not get up. The third team was planting explosives everywhere. On the walls. On the ceilings. On the supply crates. They set the timers for 5 minutes. That would give everyone just enough time to escape. Hyejin gave the order to retreat. All 3 teams started running back to the extraction point. The Krell chased them. Bullets and laser beams flew everywhere. Some human soldiers fell and did not get up, but the rest kept running. The Phoenix came flying out of the asteroid field. It landed just long enough for the teams to jump aboard. Then it took off again. Behind them, the timers on the explosives reached 0. The entire depot exploded. It was not just one explosion. It was hundreds of explosions happening at once. The fuel tanks went first, creating giant fireballs. Then the supply warehouses exploded. Then the command center. The explosions created a chain reaction that destroyed everything. The Phoenix flew away as fast as it could. Even from far away, they could see the explosion. It was so bright it lit up the whole asteroid field. The depot was gone. Nothing remained except floating debris. Back at Earth, the Krell fleet suddenly started having problems. Their ships were running out of fuel. Their weapons were running out of ammunition. Without the depot, they could not keep fighting. Veltar received the news about the depot. He could not believe it. Humans had traveled 3 light years into enemy territory and destroyed his main supply base. These creatures were incredible. For the first time in his life, Veltar felt fear. Maybe the Krell could not win this war after all. He gave the order for his fleet to retreat. They would pull back and wait for new supplies. But that would take months. In the meantime, Earth would have time to prepare. When the Phoenix returned to Earth, the whole planet celebrated. Hyjin and her team were heroes. They had done the impossible. They had turned the tide of the war. Humanity finally had hope again. The Krell fleet had retreated to the edge of the solar system. For 2 weeks they waited there. Earth satellites watched them carefully. Every day more alien ships arrived. Veltar was gathering every ship he had left. He was preparing for one final attack. Commander Tae-yang knew what was coming. Veltar had failed too many times. Now he would risk everything on one massive assault. Every Krell ship would attack at once. It would be the biggest battle in human history. Tae-yang gave orders to bring every human ship to Earth. Ships came from Mars, from the Moon, from the asteroid colonies. Every fighter, every battleship, every weapon humanity had was brought together. They would make their final stand here at Earth. Millions of civilians volunteered to help. Old people who had never fought before took up weapons. Young people barely old enough to fly took pilot training. Everyone wanted to defend their home. No one would run away. Dr. Borahan had been working on one last weapon. She had built a network of energy cannons all around Earth. These cannons were connected to every power plant on the planet. When they fired, they used all of Earth's electricity at once. The blast would be powerful enough to destroy entire fleets. But there was a problem. After the cannons fired, Earth would have no power for several hours. The planet would be defenseless. They could only use the cannons once, maybe twice. After that, they would have to fight with regular weapons. Tae-yang accepted this risk. They had no choice. If they did not use every weapon they had, humanity would lose. On the day of the battle, the Krell fleet began moving. Thousands of ships filled the sky. It looked like a storm of metal and fire. They came from every direction at once, surrounding Earth completely. Lieutenant Woo-jin Park sat in his fighter. He was now a commander, leading 100 pilots. He looked at their faces. Some were scared. Some were excited. All of them knew they might die today. Woo-jin told them to be brave. He told them to fight for their families and their future. Captain Hyjin Lee commanded the ground forces. If the Krell broke through the space defenses, they would try to land on Earth. Hyejin had soldiers ready at every landing site. They had built trenches and bunkers. They would fight the aliens street by street if they had to. Commander Tae-yang stood on the bridge of the Indomitable, Earth's largest battleship. This would be his last battle. He was old and tired, but he would fight until his last breath. He would show the Krell that humans never gave up. The battle began. The Krell ships opened fire. Thousands of laser beams shot toward Earth. Human ships flew up to meet them. The sky became a storm of explosions and fire. Ships crashed into each other. Missiles flew in every direction. It was complete chaos. Woo-jin led his squadron into the enemy fleet. His pilots flew between the big alien ships, shooting at their weak points. They dodged and weaved like angry insects. The Krell ships were slow and could not catch them. On the ground, Bora gave the order to fire the energy cannons. All around Earth, the giant cannons lit up. They gathered all the planet's electricity into massive beams of pure energy. Then they fired. The beams shot into space like giant spears of light. They hit the Krell fleet and cut through it like butter. Hundreds of alien ships exploded at once. Huge sections of the fleet were simply erased. The blast was so bright that people on Earth had to look away. But the Krell kept coming. They had so many ships. Even after losing hundreds, they still outnumbered the humans. The battle continued. More ships exploded. More people died. The space around Earth became a graveyard. Commander Tai Yang saw that Veltar's command ship was at the center of the enemy fleet. If he could destroy that ship, the Krell would lose their leader. Maybe they would retreat. Maybe they would give up. Tai Yang made a decision. He ordered his crew to evacuate the Indomitable. He would fly the ship himself. He was going to ram it directly into Veltar's ship. It was the only way. His crew did not want to leave him, but Tai Yang ordered them to go. They were young. They had their whole lives ahead of them. He was old. He had lived his life. This would be his final gift to humanity. After the crew left, Tai Yang aimed the Indomitable at Veltar's ship. He pushed the engines to maximum power. The battleship shot forward like a missile. Krell ships tried to stop him, but Tai Yang dodged them all. He had been a pilot once, many years ago. He remembered how to fly. The Indomitable crashed into Veltar's ship. The impact was massive. Both ships were torn apart. Metal and fire flew everywhere. The crash threw Tai Yang from his chair. Everything went dark for a moment. When Tai Yang opened his eyes, he was in the wreckage. His body hurt everywhere. He could barely move. Then he saw Veltar. The alien commander had also survived the crash. He was crawling through the debris toward Tai Yang. The two commanders faced each other. Veltar was bigger and stronger, but he was also injured. He looked at Tai Yang with his yellow eyes. He said he had underestimated humans. They were not weak. They were the strongest species he had ever fought. Tai Yang smiled. He said humanity would never surrender. Not today, not ever. Then he reached for a button on his suit. It was connected to the Indomitable's remaining weapons. There were still nuclear missiles on board. They had not exploded yet. Veltar realized what Tai Yang was going to do. He tried to stop him, but he was too slow. Tai Yang pressed the button. The missiles exploded. The blast destroyed both ships completely. Tai Yang and Veltar died together in the explosion. With their supreme commander dead, the Krell fleet fell apart. Ships started retreating. Some tried to keep fighting, but they had no leadership. Slowly, they turned and fled into deep space. The humans had won, but the victory had cost them everything. Half of Earth's cities were destroyed. Billions of people were dead. The space around Earth was filled with the wreckage of thousands of ships. Wu Jin landed his fighter. He climbed out and looked at the sky. It was over. The war was over. He thought about Commander Tai Yang. The old commander had given his life to save them all. Wu Jin would never forget him. In the weeks that followed, humanity began to rebuild. Yi Jin became the new commander of Earth's military. Wu Jin helped her train new pilots. Bora worked on understanding the Krell technology so humans could build better defenses. Earth built a monument to honor all those who died. At the center stood a statue of Commander Tai Yang. On the base were his final words carved in stone for all to see. Humanity bows to no one. The war had changed humanity forever. They knew now that they were not alone in the universe. There were other species out there. Some were friendly, some were dangerous. But humans had proven they could defend themselves. 10 years later, Earth had recovered. New cities were built. The population was growing again, and humanity had started exploring beyond the solar system. They built new ships using technology learned from the Krell. Other alien species heard about humanity's victory over the Krell. Some wanted to be friends with humans. Others were afraid of them. The Krell Empire had collapsed. The species that the Krell had conquered were now free. Commander Wu Jin stood on the bridge of humanity's first deep space exploration ship. He was going to explore new worlds and meet new species. Captain Yi Jin stayed on Earth, training the next generation of soldiers. Dr. Bora opened talks with peaceful aliens, sharing knowledge and building friendships. Humanity had survived its greatest test. They had faced extinction and refused to give up. They had made their final stand and won. Now they were ready to take their place among the stars. The age of humanity had begun. The galaxy would never forget what happened at Earth. The story would be told for generations. The story of how a small species fighting against impossible odds refused to surrender. The story of humanity's final stand.